Saturday, the 16th of June, marks 3 years since an Amber Alert was issued out of Hawkins County, Tennessee, for a missing then 5-year-old little girl. That little girl is Summer Moon Utah Wells. And 3 years later, she is still missing. The world was alerted to Summer Wells being missing when the first 911 call came in at 6:26 p.m. on the 15th of June. A massive search effort that lasted 13 days by a huge amount of agencies, including the TBI, the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office, the FBI, various search organisations, the Churchill Rescue Squad, EquiSearch during the search during that first month, and nothing apart from some footprints and some scent alerts on various people's land. I've talked a lot about in videos. The TBI have never confirmed those footprints were Summer's. However, I think there's a strong likelihood that Summer was out there. 2 days ago, 14th of June, the TBI issued a statement. He focused in on 2 theories. Either Summer was abducted or Summer walked away from her home and got lost in the woods, and all the search efforts over the last 3 years have just missed her. It's very possible. The tone of the message 3 years later by the TBI is somewhat different than it has been in previous updates, and that is that they're actually honed in on 2 potential theories rather than saying everything is still on the table. I guess it is if you consider abduction, because that could literally be anybody. But what they're not doing is implicating the family. So what's going to follow for the rest of this video is as many clips as I could find from local news channels. Over to the news.
The night she was reported missing, authorities said Summer was last seen walking from her home on Ben Hill Road in the Beech Creek community. Hours later, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation would issue an endangered child alert for her. That would later turn into an Amber Alert.
Summer has blonde hair and blue eyes. She was reportedly last seen wearing gray pants, a pink shirt, and was possibly barefoot.
Law enforcement still has not located Summer Wells and are not any closer to finding her. News Channel 11's Ansley Daniels spoke with Summer's parents.
There's not much hope in this world. We have to trust God that there's hope and eternal life in heaven.
Summer was reported missing on June the 15th of 2021.
We know that she was taken off her property. We know she was taken away in a vehicle, or they would have found her in the area if she was somewhere in the area. But who's responsible for her? We don't know.
I asked Don and Candace when was the last time they heard from investigators.
We haven't lately at all. It's been a while, over a year, I think. I haven't talked to any law enforcement at all. I tried to talk to the FBI agent about it, but that didn't go anywhere.
Don says he feels that he and his wife Candace were targeted by the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office.
They intimidated us, they belittled us, and done everything they could amidst all the chaos, and then the CPS was there doing the same thing.
The Hawkins County Sheriff, Ronnie Lawson, didn't return our calls or emails for this story. When asked about how he thinks about Summer's disappearance 3 years later, Don spoke about a Department of Children's Services investigation.
They said somebody had called and said that we was giving our kids loaded guns to play with, and so they closed the case June 14th, which is something CPS does not do. They don't just close cases. So it's really odd and mystifying why they closed the case June 14th, and then 24 hours later, Summer's gone.
Summer's mother, Candace, sat in for part of our interview, but got up after a few questions.
She was going to try, but her emotions were just too much.
Right now, investigators continue to search for that little girl. The TBI says the case is open. It remains unclear what led to her disappearance.
Being focused in one direction is a tragedy for an investigation. So until we find evidence that points us in a direction that we know is the right direction, will continue to be comprehensive.
The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation took to X this morning to share the latest on the search for Summer Wells. News Channel 11's Ansley Daniel has followed this investigation since the Amber Alert was first issued. Ansley, what did TBI say nearly 3 years later?
Yeah, there were a few takeaways from that video released today. The case is far from cold.
They are still receiving help from the public.
A cold case is typically framed up as a case where there are no tips or leads that are coming in, and there are no investigative efforts that are happening because there is no place to travel with the investigation.
Rumors circulate about what happened to the little girl after she vanished from her home in Hawkins County. But the TBI says speculation is not part of this investigation.
The difficult part of speculation is that if we as investigators speculate, and focus our efforts in one direction, we're making a huge mistake.
And while law enforcement has no idea where this little girl is 3 years later, they're determined to find out.
It is a monstrous task, but it's one that's not overwhelmed us. We have been strategic in the way that we've handled this investigation.
Now, Beech Creek is much quieter, almost like it was before that alert went out. There are faded posters with Summer's face and information with the hopes that someone who might know something will come forward. Shannon Phillips is one neighbor who wants to know where Summer is. He lives a few miles from the Wells family and went out to help search for her when she was first reported missing. He says he doesn't understand how law enforcement isn't any closer to finding her.
They should do more to try to find this little girl, because ever since then I've been really, really cautious with my grandkid about it, because it's down the road. You know, I mean, it's just down the road, and you can't help but wonder, because she is a 5-year-old kid, and there's kids around here everywhere.
Well, Allie, to this day, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation says they still are not sure if Summer was abducted or simply walked out of her home back in 2021. The agency reports it's received over 6,500 tips related to this investigation, which is something investigators say gives them a glimmer of hope when trying to find where she may be. And even though rumors have been spread about what may have happened to the little girl, the TBI emphasizes that speculation is not part of the investigation, and they are still determined to find out for themselves.
We don't have the evidence in this case to know for sure whether or not Summer was abducted or whether or not she walked away from her home and became lost. It's really important to us to not focus all of our efforts on just one of those two. We continue to focus on ground search efforts. We continue to focus on interviews of those who may have information about vehicles that have traveled through the area or technology that could have been used that may give us an investigative lead.
Summer's family also has their own private investigators working the case.
The private investigators working this case didn't want to go on camera, but they did release a statement to News Channel 11 saying, quote, Summer's case is our #1 priority. We continue to work on her case daily, but at this time we have nothing further to add.
Summer's father, Don Wells, says he keeps attending events like this one called Summer's Day in the hopes of connecting with his missing daughter.
Summer might see this one day and hear her name and be like, wait, that's my name. They're talking about me. We think a lot about Summer, or I wish she could be here with us. I don't know. I'm glad that people are doing this for me and my wife. It helps us a lot.
For the last 3 years, community members have gathered on the anniversary of Summer's disappearance.
We decided to hold something that was not really a prayer vigil, but we wanted to kind of focus it on child safety and awareness for Summer. So it kind of has a double purpose.
The event featured activities such as rock painting and offered information on staying safe this summer. Organizer Skylar Park says the goal is to help those who might find themselves in the same situation.
It's the situation that nobody sees coming and nobody wants to be in, but if it does happen, it helps to know what to expect and to be prepared. So we really wanted to focus on activities that families do during the summer and ways to stay safe while doing those.
The event also honored other missing in Tennessee. The event ended with a butterfly release at 7:03, the time when the first officer arrived on the day of Summer's disappearance.
News Channel 11's Jayana Scurry was at the Stand for Summer event today and reveals how the community feels 3 years later.
Missing children advocates and content creators from all over gathered together to remember Summer Wells and spread awareness about her disappearance.
We're trying to make a statement for Summer, and what we wanted to do was actually see that the law enforcement here in the county know that we're still standing strong for Summer, that we want to be her voice.
Burita Phillips runs a YouTube channel called Sharing and Caring with Miss Chewy, where she discusses true crime, domestic violence, and missing children. That's how she connected with many other content creators who do the same, like Evelyn Jenkins from Kentucky.
If we don't, who is? These kids become cold cases. And, you know, if there's nobody keeping their name out there and putting their picture out there and putting their flyer out there, who is?
Content creators from as far as England came to spread awareness about Wells and other locally missing people. Phillips appreciates the support from far and wide.
We need everybody, anybody. Just the average person can take flyers and distribute flyers, or just saying Summer's name to somebody and letting them know that she's been gone for 3 years. We're not giving up hope. We don't think she's deceased. We don't. We're hoping and praying every day that she'll come home. Summer doesn't have a voice. We have to be her voice. And if we don't do it, nobody's going to do it.
While remembering her is important, the Wells family says they want to see her come home.
We appreciate the community and those people that are supporting us, and they're keeping their eyes and ears open for Summer.
This case is one that we've just not been able to overcome.
Anyone with information regarding Summer's disappearance are asked to call 1-800-TBI-FIND.